All right, so let's continue our discussion about saving costs throughout the um purchasing cycle. Okay, so the first stage of the purchasing cycle is what? Talked about it last week. Stage one of the purchasing cycle.
Purchasing.
It's purchasing. Yes, thank you. It is purchasing. The next stage after purchasing is receiving. When we purchase the product, now we're going to receive the product. Okay. So you might need some tools to receive the product. So in your notes, I want you to jot some notes down. Think about a list of tools or things that you would need in order to receive product once it comes to your loading dock, okay, or the back service door. Those of you who are online, you can go ahead and type your answers in the chat. So what are some tools or some things that you might need?
Dolly.
Try to see how many you can list out. And we'll do a class discussion. All right, I see a few answers coming in on the chat. I need everybody that's online to at least contribute one tool in the chat. If not, you won't get credit for being in class today. There we go. All right. Excellent. I like that. Cecilia, nobody mentioned that in my other class. I like that. Date stickers. Good. All right. So we definitely need to have people who want to have training. What are some other tools? I see some on the chat, but let's write them on the board. What do we got?
Inventory list, gotta have a checklist, right?
So you want to have our ingredient list? Yes, Oscar?
I was thinking, where I work, like a device that can scan in that product.
Okay, so maybe you have something that has like a digital inventory, so you're gonna have like a scanner.
Yeah, like what we have is kind of like the scanning gun, but we upgraded to like a phone where we can just scan it.
Okay.
Shows the product and how much of the product we have, like kind of like I can really forget the word.
Yeah, but like a scanner, you could also do your list. I'm gonna put that here, and then maybe a pen or a pencil
Right.
to cross things off the list. Okay,
Or like a jack that can like transport it safely.
good. Okay, so we've got dollies or hand trucks. Okay, that's basically to move, or carts that we can move products. We're not carrying.
Maybe something to check the temperatures.
Yeah,
depending on what the
temperature.
product is.
Okay, excellent. I like that. Thermometers.
Scales.
Okay, scales. Good. What else? Anybody on this side of the room?
I was gonna say Dolly, but.
Okay, cool. Anything else? Yeah.
Does delivery tickets count?
What do you mean by delivery tickets?
Like they have to go on the computer and like make orders, like truck stuff, you know?
Yeah, so we also have like our purchase orders.
Yeah.
That's basically the list that we ordered. We're gonna compare it to the product coming in to make sure that that's what we actually are receiving.
I forgot
What about like cleaning
what-
supplies?
Say that one more time.
What about like cleaning supplies?
I mean, yeah, I guess if depending on what you're receiving, you may need to clean the area afterwards, possibly.
Box cutter.
Yep, I saw someone mention box cutter on the chat.
It's like, I guess, sheet that like write down the driver's name, like when they delivered it, stuff like that.
Yeah, so that'll probably be on the purchase order. Yep. That information, box cutters, scales. Why would we need things like, Cecilia, you mentioned date stickers. Why would we need that?
So we know when we opened it or received it, so it like we know when it goes bad.
Exactly. So we know
That's
when
it.
things kind of came in. So we do our first in, first out rotation process. Absolutely. Okay. We also need to train people. We can't just say, hey, Laura, I need you to go receive this delivery right now. Okay. Without giving any kind of training, chances are something's going to get messed up. And when we sign for this product, we're saying that we're going to pay for it. And if something comes in and it's not checked properly and it's actually bad and we should have sent it back, then we're still going to get charged for it. So I remember the first time I ever ordered fresh green beans when I was up in Maine. I ordered fresh green beans and they came in this cute little like wooden box, right? And I was like, this is kind of cool. This like came fresh from the farm. I feel really good about myself because I'm supporting a local farmer. Okay. But what I didn't understand is that green beans look great on the outside, but on the inside, they get little pockets of moisture. And what grows with moisture? Mold.
Bacteria.
So I just took that little box and I was like, yep, let me put it in my storage. I'm going to use this for dinner tomorrow night. Dinner comes tomorrow night, and I open up the box and I start taking my green beans out to snap the ends off. And all of a sudden, I get these pockets of mold. And I had to throw away at least half of the product. So had I known to look for that, right? If I had had that training, I had another time. This kind of jumps a couple chapters ahead as far as the production side. But one time I used to get my lettuce from a local farmer up in Maine. It was about a 25-minute drive. I'd call him up, say, I'm coming, I need 12 heads of lettuce. And then I show up and like literally just cut the lettuce out of the field. So I had to train my employees, my assistants, how to wash lettuce in a deep sink of water because this literally just got cut from the field. So we found rocks, dirts, slugs, all that kind of fun stuff, right? That is some fresh lettuce. Okay. Well, one time I always got either romaine or green leaf lettuce. And one time he was out because, it's whatever he's growing, he had red leaf lettuce. Okay. How many of you have never seen red leaf lettuce? Okay, cool. Well, my assistant had never seen red leaf lettuce. So what did she think?
It's bad.
It was bad. So she was like, David, I've gone through 6 heads of lettuce and all I have is this little tiny bowl. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, those are like giant heads of lettuce. And I looked in the trash and she had thrown away all the red part. She thought it was bad. She got just the green part at the end. I was like, that's so much lettuce. That's so
I
much
wonder how you
money.
handle that situation.
So much money in the trash, right? But I had to teach her about red leaf lettuce. She had never heard of red leaf lettuce. So anyways, training is really important. Okay. We have to train. As we sign for this stuff, that means we're going to pay for it. Okay. Have scales, thermometers. We want to test the temperature of things. Okay. We want to open every single box to make sure that the cans are not dented or damaged. The box may look beautiful on the outside, but the cans on the inside may be dented. Okay. So all these things we have to check. So time is another tool that we need. Ideally, we want to manage our schedule to where we are not receiving product during the lunch rush or a really busy time.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So this, like that we're doing, this is the part in when we was doing like basic foods, when they were talking about how we have to get the food at a certain time, or this is we're talking about supplying. We're not talking about like receiving like cooked food, right? We're talking about like
Not
getting.
receiving cooked food. No,
Okay,
all raw product.
okay, got you. My
Yep.
bad.
No, you're good. So this is all the stuff that we've ordered from Cisco, Benny Keith. It comes into our place, and then we gotta store it, right? We have to put it
Stuff
away.
in bulk, right?
Say that one more time.
Like the stuff in bulk, like if we order a bunch of cases of
Yeah, exactly.
got you.
Gotta open
Okay.
every single thing, right? We also need to have not only time, we need to have focus during this time. Okay. One time when I was up in Maine, I really, really, really wanted to go hiking because it was July and it was like 75 degrees outside, beautiful sunny day. I wanted to go hit up some of the mountains in the national park. And I had just purchased a new popsicle that I never had before, right? And so I thought, well, let me try this popsicle. Let me test it out, see if I like it, if I want to buy some more of them. And I don't know if y'all are like me, but I can't eat a popsicle right out of the freezer. Like it's like nails on a chalkboard, that sound that it makes when someone crunches into it. So they let it kind of defrost a little bit. So I set it down on the counter. And then I just got distracted. And then I went hiking and I came back and I was like, dude, who spilled Kool-Aid all over my sheet? My delivery sheet was like bright red. I was like, who spilled Kool-Aid all over my delivery sheet? That's not cool. And then I realized, wait a minute, that's where I put my popsicle, which means not only did they put my sheets on the rack so they could dry, they also cleaned up the mess that my popsicle made. And so then I was really appreciative, right? But that could have easily been something else. If I got distracted, it could have been a whole case of ice cream.
Yep.
And then that's ruined, and I can't, and that's money that I spent that I cannot replace, right? So, distraction free. So, focus and time are other tools that we need. Our vendor schedules are really important. So, again, there was one summer I went up there, I was up there for 8 summers total. One summer I went up and I had a new delivery driver. When he came in, I would serve breakfast from 8 to 9. And about 8:15, I'd hear the truck backing up. I'm like, dude, I'm feeding 50 people breakfast. So I got 6 foot table right here. I'm serving breakfast, and I got a 6 foot table right here where they're all making their sandwiches for lunch. So I've got a whole lot of stuff going on. I can't focus on delivering product. So I run out to the driver and I say, hey, you know what? Just go on to your next stop. Come and see me when you're done. Okay. I'm feeding breakfast until 9. Next week, 7:45. Here comes the truck backing up. And I'm like, dude, like I need you to come. Like if you can't come like after like before 7, then I need you to come after 9. Um, so week 3, he came in after 9. It was awesome. So what did I do? I made him a sandwich. I wrote thank you on the little tinfoil. It says thanks for coming after 9. I had some Rice Krispie treats from the night before. Put some in a plastic baggie. Thanks for coming after 9. And guess what? He came after 9 for the rest of the summer.
Nice.
Right? Now, if I had gone out there on that second week and been really rude and said, hey, you cannot come before 9 o'clock. If he's like me, I would have made it a point to come every single day at 9 o'clock, right? But that's just me being very petty. So managing those vendor schedules is really important. Having that good relationship with your vendors. That particular driver, I had him for the rest of the time that I was there. And he knew where my dry storage was. So all the 50-pound bag of flour, he didn't just drop it in my kitchen. He took it all the way back to the hall, down the hallway to my dry storage. So that way I didn't have to carry it all the way back over there. So having those good relationships with your drivers is a really good, important thing. Okay. And then the last thing is any discrepancies. So if we say that something's going to be here, or if we send it back. Because remember, if we sign for it, we pay for it. So if we send it back, we want to go and use a credit memo. Okay? This credit memo basically just tells our finance or our accounting person, hey, don't pay for this because I sent it back. A lot of times now things are done digitally with the scanners. Okay? And I'll sign right then and there. But my boss up in Maine may not get an updated invoice right away. So she may get a bill. I'm gonna say, hey, don't forget I sent these apples back because they were bad. Or I sent this item back because the box was damaged. So on that credit memo, we want to say what the item was, why did we send it back? Okay. We also want to talk about our physical inventory compared to our perpetual inventory. Okay. So what does physical mean?
Have it.
We have it, we can feel it, we can touch it, we can see it, right? That's our physical inventory. What does perpetual mean?
Orders that yet to come.
Izzy,
Constantly like over.
it's constantly updating, right? So if I've got 50 steaks at the beginning of my shift, every time a server enters a steak in the computer system, my perpetual inventory is going to update, okay? So perpetual is constantly updating. Our physical is what we can actually see. Okay. Now, ideally, those two numbers should match. So let's look at a couple of examples of perpetual inventory. Oh, just kidding. Let me talk about the requisition form first. A requisition form, what's the root word of requisition?
Required.
Request.
Request. Thank you. So the root word of requisition is to request. So basically, this is what I'm requesting. If you went downstairs right now in the back hallway on the first floor, you're going to see a requisition form for every single class, every single lab. The chefs will say, this is what my menu is. These are the ingredients that I need to do this menu set, okay, or to do this class activity. So if you went downstairs on the first floor, walked in the back of the hallway, you'll see all the clipboards. Those are all our requisition forms. That's how our work studies know what ingredients to pull to put on the cart that's going to go into your classroom that you can do your lesson. Okay. We also have requisition forms. So when I worked at the Sheraton Gunther Hotel, I had to get some A1 sauce because we were out of A1 sauce at my service station. Okay. I had to go to my manager. And I was like, hey, I need 2 bottles of A1 sauce. He's like, okay. Fills out the requisition form. I take it to the dry storage. He calls security. Security meets me at the dry storage. They get the requisition form. They go into what we call the cage, right? Because I'm not allowed to walk in there. Security walks in, gets 2 bottles of A1 sauce, brings it back to me. I sign that I got 2 bottles of A1 sauce. He keeps a copy, and I take the other copy to my manager. Okay. All of that for 2 bottles of A1 sauce. And all of that while my guests are waiting with their steak for a bottle of A1 sauce. So I'm like stressing out, right? I'm freaking out. I gotta get this to my guests. I just want a bottle of A1 sauce. But if they take it that seriously for a bottle of A1 sauce, how seriously do you think they've taken their inventory control for steak products?
Very high.
Or the ingredients, the high cost ingredients, right? So that requisition form is just basically like a paper trail. So now let's talk about how we compare our perpetual and physical inventory. Okay. So our opening inventory, that's the inventory that we already have. We purchase 35 items. So we add those together. And what is 10 plus 35?
I mean, 45.
45. Okay. So we add those two together, we get 45. Now, issuing means that I've issued those out of my storage, I've issued them into production. So I'm going to subtract, I take that back, sorry. Issued means I actually served that many. So I served 37 items.
Okay.
So I subtract that from 37 from 45, and what is my answer? 8. So 8 minus 8 is 0. That means everything is accounted for. My physical and my perpetual match. Another example. Opening inventory of 0. If we add 55, and then I issued 47, subtract my 47. What is 55 minus 47? 8. Now my actual, that's my physical. I go in and I look, I've got 5 items. So I do 5. I physically have 5. My computer says I should have 8. So 5 minus 8 is -3.
-3. Oh.
That means I am missing 3 items.
Oh,
I'm missing 3 items. Is that a big deal?
yes.
Yes, it absolutely is a big deal.
I'll not be stealing.
What's that?
Someone could be.
Someone could be stealing, right? Or maybe someone dropped a steak on the ground and they didn't record it. We're going to talk about that in chapter 8, I believe, about how we record items going missing. Okay. I'm in a hurry. It happens. I open up. I think I grab the plastic bag this way and the holes at the top, the holes at the bottom, pick it up and my steak hits the ground. Am I supposed to pick that steak up and put it on the grill?
No,
No. Does it happen?
yes.
Shouldn't, but sometimes it does. But we're not gonna call those people out. I mean, we would. If I was a manager, I'd call that person out in a heartbeat, right? But that's not good. So we want to figure out why we're missing 3 items, and we'll talk about that in a later chapter. Right now, we're just focusing just on the math. Last one. Do this last one by yourself. And see, those of you who are online, you can type your answer in the chat. All right. Check your work. 25 plus 15 is 40. Minus 38 is 2. 1 minus 2 is -1. We're missing 1 item. I can physically see I have 1 item. My perpetual inventory says I should have 2 here. Okay. Questions about physical and perpetual inventory?
Nope.
We can also take into consideration the cost of our perpetual inventory always updating. Okay. And so this is a perpetual inventory. You can see I start with 8. I issued 1. And so I end up with 7. My ending becomes the starting. So 7, I didn't receive any, I didn't issue any, I'm still at 7. Okay, so that's our perpetual inventory. And that's what cost, it shows what cost we have on hand on that particular ingredient. In this case, it's sliced peaches. Okay. Now we also have what's called extending and totaling. Okay. Extending essentially is just taking how many we have, multiply it by the price to give our total for that specific ingredient. That's what we call by extending. Okay. And then we just extend it and total up to figure out what our physical inventory we have on hand. Okay. How often should you do inventory?
Weekly.
I would say at least monthly, if not weekly. It also depends on your ordering schedule, right? Because you should be doing inventory before you place an order. You should know, remember how we talked about last class of the purchasing? We should know how much we have in inventory. We don't just always order the par, we order what we need to get up to par. Okay, so you should do an inventory at least before you order. So after we do a physical inventory, that's where we get this ending inventory amount. Okay? Does this look somewhat familiar? Hopefully it does. We have talked about this portion already, cost of goods sold. Okay? How do we figure out our cost of goods sold? What do we think? What's the first step?
Is the beginning inventory.
Beginning inventory, yes.
So wouldn't we use the triangle on this?
Nope.
Oh, no?
Beginning inventory, what are we gonna do with our purchases? We're gonna add or subtract them.
Add.
We're going to add them. So our beginning inventory, this is your example number 1 on your notes page, I believe.
Example number 1.
You guys have that on your notes page?
So what would the cost of goods sold from formula?
All right, so our beginning of inventory plus our weekly purchases is equal to our total available. So that is $4,000 total available inventory. So beginning inventory plus weekly purchases is our total available inventory. Then our ending inventory, we're going to subtract that. Why? Why are we subtracting our ending inventory?
That's how much we didn't sell.
It's how much we didn't sell, right? This is the cost of goods sold. If we haven't sold it yet, we can't include that in the cost. So that's why we subtract that. And so this example number 1, we have $3,500 as our cost of goods sold. Okay? Cost of goods sold. All right, at the top of your page, on the back side, we have average inventory, we have inventory turnover. Okay? To find your average inventory, we have to add the beginning inventory plus the ending inventory and divide by what?
2?
Why 2?
There's two.
There's 2 items, there's 2 numbers, right? Anytime you find the average of anything, you want to add up the number of items or add them all up and then divide by the number of items you have. So by using that logic, our average inventory for this case is 1,500. That's our beginning inventory plus 500 ending inventory. What does that equal to?
Oh, 2,000.
$2,000. And I
Oh, wait.
divide that by 2. So my average inventory in this case is $1,000. So on average, I had about $1,000 in my inventory at any given point throughout the month or throughout the period. Okay. Questions about average inventory? Let's talk about inventory turnover. What does the word turnover mean?
Like your outcome?
It has to do with an outcome, but it's not exactly the outcome.
Inventory that
Like
moved.
the profit?
No, it's not our profit. Moses, what did you say?
Inventory that moved.
Inventory that moved, right? When we turn over, as we use it, we have to order it again, right?
Yep.
What other ways do we use what other ways besides inventory do we look at turnover in our industry?
First in, first, last out.
Well, that's inventory. Our industry is notorious for having a high turnover rate for employees,
Employees, yeah.
right? So employee turnover, as employees leave, we have to hire new people and train them. That's employee turnover. Okay. How else do we have turnover? We look at turnover in our industry. Anybody ever been a server before? Right? I want to see how fast do I turn over my tables. How fast can I get my guest in, sitting down, eating, and then get out so I can get somebody else in there and I can make more money? Okay, of course, we don't do it that specifically that way. We do it with a smile and we encourage them to continue to their conversation in the bar if they would like to. And then we can reset our table and then we can serve some more guests. When I worked at Cheesecake Factory, it's a 24-page spiral bound notebook for a menu with over 200 items. So if I wanted to minimize my guest time, I would tell them salads are on page 11, pastas are on page 12, sandwiches are on page 13, right? What are you in the mood for? Let me direct you into our menu so that way you don't flip through every single page and take more time at my table. I want to get you in and get you out, right? But of course, always with a smile and a very pleasant attitude. So inventory turnover. This is going to tell us how often we turn our inventory over. Okay. So to do that, inventory turnover, our formula is going to be our cost of goods sold divided by our average inventory. Okay. So you can see we need our cost of goods sold and we need our average inventory to get inventory turnover. So 3,500 was my cost of goods sold divided by my average inventory of $1,000. And I have an inventory rate of 3.5. 3.5. That means during this period, I turned my inventory over 3.5 times. Okay. Does that mean I sold out of everything before I replaced anything? No. It just means on average, we turned it over 3.5 times. Some ingredients have longer shelf lives. So if we use a lot of canned goods, we use a lot of frozen product in our operation, we might have lesser or lower turnover rate. If we get fresh bread from a local bakery for our coffee shop and we get fresh pastries, we may turn our inventory over more because it has a shorter shelf life. If we use a lot of fresh seafood or a lot of fresh meat, we may have a higher turnover rate because that means we're turning things over more frequently and getting more items in. Okay. So now let's
Could you
take
do that one
example
more time?
one. Sorry, go ahead.
Could you do that one more time?
Do what one more time?
The average, the turnover.
Yeah, we're gonna do that right now as an entire example. So example number two. Example number two, what is our beginning inventory?
1,500?
Not 1,500.
Is it
Oh, from the turnover, so
2,500?
Is he? Not 3,500.
500
David, why is it 500?
because our ending was
Ending.
500.
Because our ending inventory,
Oh,
in example one, ending inventory is 500. So we come over here and we've got 500 as our beginning inventory. Okay. Hopefully there's no change in our inventory between the end and the beginning of the next period.
right.
If there is, that means product is walking away. Okay. So our beginning inventory is 500. We go through the process all over again. 500 plus 4,500 is
5,000.
5,000. So I've got 5,000 total available for the entire month. Okay. Then I subtract my ending inventory. And so my answer is $2,500. 5,000 minus 2,500 is 2,500. That means my cost of goods sold, all the ingredients it cost me to make and sell the items that I sold, is 2,500. That's my cost of goods sold. Average inventory. Take our beginning inventory, 500. What is our ending inventory?
2,500.
2,500. So that equals $3,000. We're gonna divide that by
By
2.
2. So it's 1,500.
Yes, our average, on average, we have $1,500 worth of inventory in our storage. Okay, that's our average inventory. Your inventory turnover. We take, actually, let me color code this. Our cost of goods sold, 2,500 divided by our average inventory of $1,000. So what is 2,500? Sorry, 1,500. So sorry. 1,500.
One 150.
1 point what?
5.
1.5 exactly?
I got 1.66.
1.66. Okay, so let's make it 1.7.
Okay.
Okay, so that means 1.7 times I turned my inventory over. I turned my inventory over less this month than I did this month. Last month, I did 3.5 times. This time, I only did 1.7 times. So that tells me how fresh of the ingredients that I've got coming in or that I have on hand. I didn't turn them over as much. If we look, I purchased $4,500 worth of stuff, okay, throughout the entire month. But I had $2,500 left over when I did my physical inventory, okay? So what does that tell you? Potentially, what might be something that happened during that particular month? What's that? It was slow. Maybe I thought it was gonna be really busy because it's spring break. I'm gonna buy all these extra ingredients. I'm gonna stock up, and then it rains every single day of spring break, and we're not busy. Okay? It happens. That's where this ending inventory, hopefully the product in this ending inventory is not gonna go bad and we can use it again in the next cycle. Okay? But if you take a look, I've got $2,500 at the end of the month versus this one, I only had $500 left at the end of the month. Okay? So a lot of it is about inventory management and how we are purchasing. Okay? But that's basically this inventory turnover tells us how frequently are we turning our inventory over, okay, during the month. Any questions about chapter 6? Inventory turnover, average inventory, cost of goods sold, or perpetual and physical inventory? All right, let me make sure I have attendance updated. Glad came in, Laura came in. Caleb, did you come in? Not see Caleb online. Okay, so Jessica, I got your attendance reported.
You got me too?
Yes, sir, I did. All right, so on Thursday, we are gonna go over chapter 7 in class, okay? So we're going over chapter 7 in class. Please make sure you watch those videos prior to coming to class. And then just as a reminder, next week is spring break. Okay? Everyone take your right hand, put it up in the air.
As I'm in the midst of
Repeat after me.
presidency right now.
I
Traveling has again been a life-saving.
say your name.
Now I'm gonna write my personal statement.
Sorry, I'm trying to-
Grammarly.
Okay, you went on.
There we go. I say your name.
I, Andrew Good,
Yes.
promise
To turn my brain off during spring break.
to turn my brain off due to
Yeah,
the.
spring
Think of any classwork from Mr. Uminski.
I don't think about anything. Not even much, Mr. Ubinsky.
Thank you, guys. You promise now. You made a promise. You cannot think about my class during spring break. Okay, you need to take a break. So we will have class we'll have class on Thursday. Next week. The following week, we will have class on Tuesday and Thursday like normal. Okay, and then the following week, the 25th and the 27th, we will not have class at all. Because I will not be here for my Monday, Wednesday class. I'll be out of town. And so I want to keep our classes together. But since I'm not having class on Monday, Wednesday, we are just gonna not have class. I will log in on the 27th. I'll be here. So if you want to log in for questions about the project, you can. But we're not gonna have a formal class on that week. Okay? That's the 25th, okay? And then we'll come right back to class. We'll finish up with chapters 9 and 10 that first week, April. All right? My gosh, the semester is gonna be gone before we know it. Thank you all so much. I'll see you on Thursday, go over chapter 7.